hope it's possible to see my screen or my presentation. Very short introduction and very short some rules. My name is Martina. I'm from Slovakia, as Miška, and I'm from the Zlatinka Association. It's a local environmental organization here in Slovakia, in central Slovakia, and I try to make some introduction and very short information about today webinar. So it's very important to know that the webinar is recorded. So please, if somebody has a problem with this, please left from this webinar, but I think it's okay for everybody. Please mute your microphones, and you can also turn off your cameras during presentation because it's better for internet and so on. If you have some notes or comments or some questions, please make a note on paper or anywhere, and after presentation will be time for these notes or questions or something like this. Yeah. If you can send or write some questions to the chat, but if somebody make presentation, it's not possible to see during the presentation. So this webinar, after my very short introduction, will be a presentation from Giorgio about a project, and after will be basic or on main presentation by Santi from Costa Rican Urban Gardens Network, and after maybe, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes after, then will be question time, and we will see how many time we spent in this webinar. So now we have 18 participants. So we can start with first presentation about project. Giorgio, I will. Giorgio, you are here, I hope.
Yes, here I am.
Oh, sorry. I must.
So first of all, hello to everybody. I see some familiar faces, let's say, and familiar names as well for those who have the video off. Yes, I'm in charge to present shortly the framework of this webinar. And give me just a second to do that, to share my screen. Voila. So I suppose you can see.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Very well. So hello, my name is Giorgio Micoli. For those who doesn't know me, I am one of the responsible of the Italian association ARCI Chieti, who is applicant and let's say organization who got this multi-year, multi-activity project called Protected Areas, a Playground for the Inclusion of Young People. We are within the framework of the Erasmus Plus program of the European Commission, and this project is a project that is organized in a time frame. In the time frame of 3 years, because it's a project realized inside the accreditation for the Erasmus Plus Youth that ARCI Chieti got 2 years ago by the Italian National Agency of the Erasmus Plus program. This is one pillar of 3 that we are developing. This is the pillar protected areas, a playground for the inclusion of young people. We have other 2, one about social enterprise and natural capital, and the third one is more connected with the artistic expression as to include young people. Coming back to our main project here of today, the one of protected areas, we are speaking about, as I said, a 3 years project with a complex partnership coming from a different side of Europe. There are not only countries from European Union, but there are also countries from the Western Balkans, like Bosnia, Albania, and Serbia. Beside the core partnership, we have also other guests, we call in this way, that are invited and join the project according to the skills and the capacity to contribute to the positive development of the planned activities. Here, for instance, today we have Santi, who is not at all from Europe, but from Central America, from Costa Rica. And for us, it's a big pleasure because it's a way also to go out from our regular garden, let's say. So for us, it's really a pleasure also to open windows to other reality. Here you see also which is the main objective of our project. So it's mostly linked to realize an educational, informative, and experiential path with the main target given by young people and the local communities. Also, when we speak about young people, we speak about young people mostly coming from difficult background, such as geographical or rural, geographical disadvantaged or rural areas, or young people with some social or economical difficulties in their background. The main playgrounds of our projects, as the title already suggests, is the one of the protected areas. And when we mean protected areas, we mean, of course, national parks, but also small natural reserves, site of communitarian interest, but also sites and places that maybe don't have any official recognition as a protected area, but anyway as a natural value that can be interesting to explore and to valorize. In these 3 years, we planned several activities. As you can see, we are speaking about different physical activities, meaning that for sure we have international meetings in which the partners and the participants from the partners meet and work together during seminars, study visit, youth exchange, and so on. We already did a seminar in October 2022 in Borrello, in Italy. It was the beginning of this project in terms of physical meetings. We are going to have a second one that will be hosted by the Bulgarian organization Natural Explorer. It will be a study visit at the end of May, about which to the partners we will send very soon some more information. Beside this, we have also virtual activities like this one, webinars, in order to use some moments to deepen some thematics, some arguments, some topics that during our international meetings are considered like interesting to work on. Also for these virtual activities, and today also we have these practical examples, we can involve also organization person, resource person who are outside our core network. Other important activities is the one concerning the dissemination and exploitation of results. So we will for sure realize dossier publication. We will use the social media to inform the other people that our project is going on and the outcomes of our projects. Also, this webinar can be an example of this, because we are recording it and it will be uploaded on YouTube in order to be available also for persons who are interested. This will be also, so from one side, an educational tool that we will use for the project, but also it will be a way to give visibility to the fact that we are realizing this project. The methodology that we are using in our activities is the one given by the non-formal education. It is a must inside the Erasmus Plus program, especially for what is concerning the youth branch. I'm not going inside the topic of the non-formal education, because it can take several days to speak and work on it. But here you have a short explanation in this slide. Within the non-formal education methodology, we also use the ORA methodology, the ORA approach that has been let's say created and developed by most of the partners of our projects. And the ORA is an acronym for Observe, Rethink, Act. And the approach is to let the people, and especially the young people, to observe their context, to rethink their own role as individuals, but also as a citizen, and in order to act as a responsible citizen within their community for the positive development of their community. And you can see also which are our motto that we use from time to time to better explain the concept of ORA. Of course, we are speaking about protected areas, we are speaking about sustainable approaches, and here you see the examples of how we try to be environmental friendly in the realization of our projects, trying to choose as much as possible green means of transportation during our international meetings. We use, I don't know, or organic, locally produced or fair trade products when we prepare the meals for the participants, and so on. We try to be to have the less impact as possible during our projects. Also, this list is going to be also enlarged because, for instance, thanks to our friends and colleagues from Borrello, the idea from the next meetings is also to cooperate with another international organization in order to plant a tree for every participant that participate to our project. In this way, we try to compensate our impact. So these are short examples, but anyway, we are sure that these are anyway something positive to spread and to practice. Of course, it's a project with an international partnership from different countries, but there are also some supporting organization. First of all, the IAAP, the Istituto Abruzzese per le Aree Protette, that is the umbrella organization that here in the Abruzzo region is coordinating some of the natural reserves here in Abruzzo. During the previous seminar in Borrello, we visited two of them, and we also get in contact with other two of these natural reserves. Of course, the Erasmus Plus program is the main donor. the Agenzia Nazionale per i Giovani, who is the Italian national agency for the Erasmus Plus program youth, who support us in the development of our projects, plus other local stakeholders that can be association, institutions, small-scale enterprise, group of citizens that from time to time are involved according to their role and their knowledge and skills to contribute to the project. So this is my very synthetic presentation about the approach of the project. Of course, when we will have the question time, if there are questions, for sure you can address. So Martina, I will now switch off the sharing of my computer, and I pass again the floor to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giorgio. So, and now I can maybe in 2 sentences introduce Santi. Santi, it's very for me it's very nice person or very interesting person. And he's a co-founder of the Costa Rican Urban Gardens, and he's an active member of several community gardens and permaculture project in the country. Maybe it's if you can very shortly introduce yourself, not only in permaculture topic, because you are from Costa Rica. It's quite a exotic country for everybody. So I will try to make you host, and you can introduce yourself and make a presentation.
Okay. Well, in my case here in Costa Rica, it's just 10 a.m. So good morning, everyone. This is Santi. I work with permaculture. I'm happy to see you all here. And we're going to be talking about permaculture. For me, permaculture, I will tell you what it is about later on with the presentation, which, by the way, I just actually modified a little as you were introducing yourself. So for the other people in the team, you're going to be maybe surprised, but it's mostly the same. I'm pretty spontaneous talking about that. And I run a volunteer program here. I help permaculture projects and agroecology projects to get people to get some extra hands, because I know a lot of people are doing great things in the world, and sometimes they might not have the resources, the knowledge, the connections to make it happen. For me, it's important to make these people be seen and helped so they can bring more of the good to this world. So on that line, I will be paying attention to the chat. If you have questions, in my case, it's okay if you just post them there in the chat. I'll keep an eye to see if there's something relevant for the specific slide. And if not, I'll just leave it at the end. Being said that, I'm going to start sharing my screen. There you go.
Yeah, it's okay.
Everyone sees it, right? Yeah. Perfect. So we're going to be talking today about permaculture. And permaculture can be applied to many things. We'll be talking especially today about how to use it a little in work and in the home. But I'll tell you some story about permaculture, as well as the ethics of permaculture that for me are the most important things. So permaculture, it's a term that arose around the 70s with Bill Mollison and David Holmgren. They're from Australia. And mostly Bill Mollison had been traveling around, and he saw some of the world's problems in terms of environment and people. And traveling around, he was studying the different ways of building, of planting, of growing trees, of raising animals. And with time, he started developing this theory that at the end it's basically not his ideas. He took ideas from many cultures, but he merged them and contextualized them to take the best out of each culture, each practice, each technique, and suggest ways of using them together. David Holgram was a good student of Bill Mollison, and he joined at some point. And actually, it's good because Bill Mollison had like an amazing mind. He was able to connect so many concepts. But David Holgram, he's really good at teaching. So Bill Mollison's stuff, it's pretty abstract sometimes and kind of really technical. But if you go to David Holgram's books, you're going to see it's really easy to understand. You can go to whichever, you'll find books from these two authors, from them together, and from other authors. Just use whatever works for you, because there's so many books and videos about permaculture. I'm sure you'll find the one that you like the most. Now going to the to the ethics of permaculture. For me, it's important to say that a permaculture project, more than being an organic farm or doing natural building, the main parts are the ethics. If a permaculture project is not taking care of the earth, not taking care of people, and not sharing fairly, then for me, it's not permaculture. That doesn't mean that it has to be perfect from the start, but it needs to have these ethics as pillars of the work. For example, in my case, and obviously it's easy to talk about myself, but how do I take care of earth? So I'm really conscious about water use. We have a compost toilet. We have an organic garden in the back and in the front of the house. We recycle. We try to buy as much without a package. I actually just went yesterday to get some beans, rice by bulk. In Costa Rica, I've been in parts of Europe and I see there's a lot of stores to buy by bulk. In Costa Rica, we have some, not as many, but I'm using one of the older school. It's in the central market. It's not even like hipster, because the others are kind of hipster, but the central market is old school. Everyone would go there before in the 80s, the 90s. So it's cheap prices. They have a lot of variety. That's where I go. That's how I take care of earth. Now, how people care. In this project, with the volunteers, we are we have vegan food, gluten-free food. We try to accommodate to people's preferences, and we do not have meat in our case, because I think, in my case, I think it's healthier and better for the environment. But I'm not pushing anyone to be vegetarian at this point. Another thing we take care of people here, it's we're LGBTQI friendly. I know there's a lot of spaces that are not safe for these people, mostly in Latin America. So we try to do our best to make it a safe place for them to be able to still explore these topics without feeling ostracized or discriminated, or even be in violent situations. We try to have all our partners be in the same channel, because we want everyone to feel respected and valued and seen. So this is a way of taking care of people. Then we have fair share. And fair share is when you have an abundance of something. It doesn't need to be physical. Like, you don't have to have 1,000 tomatoes to fair share. You can also share knowledge, like I'm doing today. I know a lot of things. I've been to a lot of projects. And for me, sharing with you today, it's part of that. But also with the volunteers. In the case of volunteers, they don't pay to be here. They just come and they exchange their work for the learning. So we go to the garden, I teach them how to prune, and they help me prune the bushes. I teach them how to plant, and they can help me plant. So that abundance, I'm sharing my abundance, which is knowledge, and they're sharing their abundance, which is maybe time or energy or physical condition. There's many ways of sharing, of like this fair share. I just invite you to think constantly, what do I have in abundance that I could bring to this world? In some cases, it could be maybe you know how to ride a bicycle and your neighbor doesn't. That can be an abundance that you can share. Maybe you have a huge kitchen where you can, maybe you can rent or borrow or lend to someone to teach classes. Or just maybe they have a party coming and they don't have the money to maybe hire the food. So you can let them use your kitchen so they can prepare the food for the party. So there's many ways of applying these ethics. And for me, it's just important to think constantly, am I taking care of the earth? Am I taking care of people? And am I sharing my abundance? Now the design principles, and we'll go through some of them. even though I do think I have all of them in the presentation, we'll not talk about all because then it would be like 2 hours long, just shallowly talking about them. But these are the permaculture principles that turn around the ethics. So we'll talk about some of the general ones. Observe and interact. So these principles that I'm going to talk about are things that also you keep in mind as you're designing systems. And permaculture is not just about farms. It could also be you have a taxi company, or you have a spaceship program, or you are a teacher in a school. These principles are can be applied to any topic. So observe and interact, it's about how you see what's going on around you, and you think how to adapt to that. For example, I'm gonna talk about a specific example that just happened with the presentation, and also there's another principle that I'm gonna reference to this. Observe and interact. So I came here and I had done the presentation more on a vertical format, and at that time it looked nice, but then today I looked at it, I'm like, maybe it's not so good. And some of the hosts told me it wasn't so easy to read, so I observed that it wasn't looking so good as I thought before, and I interacted doing a reformatting of the presentation in like 2 minutes, making it horizontal. And hopefully now it can be read better. Then catch and store energy. Here in Costa Rica, during the rainy season, it rains a lot. I don't know if you've ever been to a tropical country, but here from around May to around November or October, it's like constant raining almost every day. Around 2 p.m. it's probably going to rain, and sometimes it's going to be a lot. How do you catch and store energy? During rainy season, you can have a water tank that catches that water. And so when the summer comes, the dry season comes, because in Costa Rica, we don't have 4 seasons. We just have rain season and dry season. When the dry season comes, then you have water that you caught during the rain season that you can use to water your plants. And if you're efficient at watering, you can use not a lot of, you don't need to catch a lot of water. You don't have to have big storage to use that water. But you can also use that water for toilets or for washing the car, or many things that don't need drinkable, potable water. Other ways of catching and storing energy is when you have solar panels that catch the energy of the sun, store it in batteries, and then you can use them during the night when there's no sun. Obtain a yield, it's one that at the beginning I didn't understand a lot, but now I think it's important. And obtaining a yield is that you engage in a project, and it's important to have something back, like something that is feeding you. In the case of agriculture, it could be plants, but it could also be if you start a new job that you're getting good feedback, because then you know, oh, I'm doing my job in a good way. Like people appreciate what I'm doing. If you start like a company or a business, it could be having customers, having money coming back. When you start a project or when you start something and there's nothing coming back that feeds you, that keeps you alive, you can lose the energy or burn out. This one applies self-regulation, and I said feedback is the one that I said I was going to reference to about the presentation, because again, I heard the feedback on the readability of the text, on the format of the text, of the presentation, and I accepted that feedback, and so I changed it. Many times we get feedback from people about many topics, and we just block it. Like we straight block it. I don't like that comment, so I'm just going to ignore it. And sometimes, or many times, it could actually help us grow and help us improve our systems, or at least adapt those systems to the people that are going to use them. So it's good to, every time you get feedback, and feedback can be explicit, like, hey, I don't like your haircut. That can be explicit feedback. But implicit feedback could be, for example, that you bought a new pillow and you are sleeping really bad since that new pillow. So the pillow is not telling you like, hey, I'm not going to let you sleep during the night. But you can take that feedback. You can say like, wait a second, since I bought the pillow, I've been sleeping pretty bad. So maybe I'm going to try to change. I'm going to accept that feedback from the pillow and from my head and my sleep that is not going well. And I'm going to apply self-regulation. And that means I'm going to change the pillow, or I'm going to switch sides. I'm going to try another pillow. I'm going to sleep without a pillow. For me, applied self-regulation and accepting feedback is one of the principles that helps me the most, because there's so many things I cannot see. Like, we live in our heads and we just sometimes believe that's the world outside, but no, our world inside is just our world. And hearing other people's worlds helps us work better together. I'm going to skip use and value natural resources. I think it's pretty straightforward, but I just want to go to some of the other ones. Produce no waste. This one is really important. And again, there's an obvious way of seeing it, like let's do compost with our food scraps. Maybe you have a restaurant and then you have a lot of food scraps and food waste. You could make compost, or you can use it for a biodigester, and then you're producing no waste. This is very obvious, but a less obvious way could be in society. At least here in Costa Rica, well, there's poor people, there's people that live in the streets, that live in really poor houses. And those could be seen from a part of society as waste. And I think that's a big problem for our interaction, because in one side, it creates problems like thieves and criminals and people killing each other. But in another way, it's a loss of potential, because the fact that people didn't have the opportunities that maybe you or I have had doesn't mean that they're not smart or they're not capable of things. And when you put these people as waste, you're losing that potential. It's like having your fridge full of food, and just because part of the food you don't like, you just let it go to waste. But it was food and it was nutritious. And the fact that it didn't work for you, it doesn't mean that it wouldn't work for others. And so not producing waste in case of society, finding ways of empowering these people, giving them opportunities for them to be able to show their capabilities, their skills, and their what they can bring to society, I think can help a lot. So produce waste can be obvious, but you can also see it in other things, in other areas of life. Design from patterns to details. This one I really enjoy, because I'm always, even my partner jokes with me, because she's like, okay, Santi would say, look for the patterns. And it's because whenever you have something, like here I have a light from a bike. Maybe if I see it at first glance, it's not like some other lights, and I might not know how to turn it on. But most lights, or most things that turn on, have a button. So then I would just start looking around and look for the button or something I can push. And I see there's a push button there, but it doesn't turn on. In my case, I know what it is. It's because it's decharged. But then this is a different light. And for the people that ride a bike, it's obvious how to use it. But maybe for someone that doesn't ride a bike, it's not so obvious. And even though they're pretty different, there's a pattern, which is they both have a button that I can press. When you go around and you see things, you see trees, you see plants, if you start to look with detail, you'll see there's plants with patterns. There's some plants that have one stem and branches growing on both sides of the stem. Some other plants have branches growing on 4 sides of the stem, and some plants have branches going in a spiral pattern. Those are all patterns that we can see, that you don't need to be a biologist. You don't need to study like deep science to see. It's just about sitting and analyzing what you have in front of you. You can also see patterns with people. Like a regular pattern with people is they sleep at night. They eat around 3 times a day. They sit in objects that have 4 legs that are called chairs. So those are patterns that we can all see. And when you start looking at these patterns consciously, you're able to design better for the people and for the interaction of those elements. Integrate and rather than segregate, for me, it's really important also because sometimes we get used too much to working with people that look like us. For me, integration is really important. And again, I don't know at what time of history someone decided that people, like in this case, like I consider myself white, and at some time in history, people thought that white people were better than other color of skin, even though we are all capable and we all have skills and experiences, and we're all humans. So I make a really conscious choice, as I said at the beginning, of integrated. And I'm actually constantly looking for what other parts of society puts to the side as waste, as discrimination, as even sometimes violence. And I try to include them in the projects we work in. Because the people that have privilege, that were able to go study, that have always been received open doors everywhere, they already have those opportunities. But some people that haven't had these chances also deserve opportunities. And a lot of the projects I work with want to work with people, so I just connect them and I show them that they're valued, that their work is important. And if they were not seen elsewhere, I see them and I see their potential. This doesn't happen just with skin color, but also with disabilities. Some people in wheelchairs, I don't know if, well, in Europe, I think there's a better infrastructure, but here in Costa Rica, many places have awful sidewalks. They're full of stairs everywhere. The roads have like bumps and holes, and it's difficult to go with a wheelchair. So how can I make this work for everyone, not just people that can walk? If there's blind people, how can I make it work for blind people so it's easier for them also? I just participated in a festival as organizer, the biggest festival in Costa Rica, with around 12,000 people, Permaculture Festival. And it was the first year we had a disability program or accessibility program. And we brought interpreters that would do Costa Rican Sign Language and United States Sign Language, ASL. So then deaf people could also enjoy the festival, the music and the workshops. And this is integrate rather than segregate. How can you make your workplace, the places where you play, the places where you relax, how can you make these places integrate people to work together and to value each other and see each other? Well, actually, this is part. These two are similar. The integrate rather than segregate, and use and value diversity. Because working with deaf people here in Costa Rica, I've learned so many things on and how to feel my body. Because, for example, I learned that deaf people a lot of times listen to the music, they actually feel it in the chest. So now when I'm listening to music, I try to focus on my chest and think if I can feel it, if I follow the rhythm just by feeling in my chest, which I think is like a nice experience that I didn't think about before. And this is just a simple example of things that we can learn just by integrating. I actually am going to go back to this one, permaculture at work, use small and slow solutions. Sometimes we create a project and we make it huge. Imagine I buy a farm and I don't know if, well, I think you don't have good mangoes, but I just want to let you know, if you've never eaten a good mango, it's just because you're in Europe. In Costa Rica, they're amazing. And when you come here or any tropical country, make sure to taste a mango that you can smell it and it smells like honey. Those are good mangoes. But imagine you would plant you come to Costa Rica, you taste the mango, you like it a lot, and then you want to plant a whole farm with mangoes. So it's going to be hectares and hectares of mangoes. But what happens if then maybe an animal comes or a bug comes and starts attacking all the mangoes because they were all the same? Then you would be frustrated. You wouldn't have a yield and it would be too late to accept feedback because they're mostly dead or almost dying. So when you use small, slow solutions, maybe you're like, wow, this time I went to Costa Rica, I really like mango. I'm going to plant one tree in my backyard and see how it goes. And with that tree, you can learn a lot. And that's going to let you know if you actually want to plant a farm of mangoes or if you're okay with just one tree. In my case, I had one mango tree in my garden and it was more than enough. It would produce so many mangoes. I don't need a farm. I wouldn't be able to eat so much mango, even if I love it. Creatively use and respond to change. This one, it's sometimes things don't go as planned. For example, let's go back to our example with the farm full of mangoes. They all died. But what's left? The trees, the wood, right? The stumps. And I know mango wood is really good for some instruments like guitar, violins, and some others, and it's actually really valuable. So maybe you go like, all right, I don't have a mango farm now. I'm not going to be able to eat mangoes, but I could look for someone that is producing violins and guitars, and I can sell this wood to them. And so here, you're not getting frustrated and angry against nature and insects and all the things that didn't go well. You're actually taking that change and using it creatively, putting the energy in a new place that might or might not work, but you're adapting. And permaculture, a lot of times, is about adapting, because you plan something in your computer or in your sketchpad, but then you go outside or you go to your workplace and it doesn't work exactly how you planned. So you need to creatively use it and respond to change in those cases. Zones and sectors is a different part of permaculture. Before, we were talking about how some principles on how to think about how we design our projects. Zones, it's how we organize them, how we organize things. Zones go from some people 0 to 5, some others 1 to 5. It's almost the same. Just think, as closer it is to 0, the more energy, the more care, the more responsibility you need to put there. So for example, I know a lot of people here have their phones in zone 1 or zone 0, maybe in their pocket, maybe in their backpack, close or in the desk that they can check, because it's a device that some people use intensively. I consider myself one of them. So this would be in zone 1. But think now something that you have in zone 5. That would be something that you barely use. Let me think in my case about something while you also think about something you barely use, that it's like you barely remember where it is. So I just found this. These are Post-its, and I don't know if you noticed, but they're like super dusty. They were like put behind in a shelf here that I have on my left side. Actually, the shelf is pretty close to me. This should be somewhere else because I barely use Post-its. I know some people are going like, oh, Post-its are so useful. Yes, the problem is I'm digital. Like, I've been working in computers since I was in school. I barely use pens, pencils, paper. I just use them when I invite volunteers, and I'm like, well, if you want paper, I do have recycled paper. But this one would be like zone 5 for me. It seems to be some leftover Post-its that I totally forgot about. I never use. They were there, stored somewhere. So zone 1, zone 0, things you need a lot. Zone 5, things you barely use. With this, you can organize, because then in my fridge, when I open my fridge, the things that are closer to my reach are the things that I use constantly. The fruits that I want to use as a snack, the lunch that I prepared the previous day. But I have other things that I barely use, like maybe some special oil or special ingredient. Those are at the end, on the back, lower shelf, because I know when I use them, they're there. But in my daily life, they're not like in the middle. When you organize things in this way, you can make your systems more efficient. You can have your friends closer. You can have your workplace closer because you put it in zone 1 or 2. You can have your friends, your best friends in zone 1 and 2. Maybe you go and do a co-living, and then you have everyone in zone 1. Or maybe you don't like having people around, so then you go and live in zone 5. You go to the mountains in the countryside. And this is good because it makes you be conscious of, what do I want to have close to me? What do I want far from me? Sector analysis. Sector analysis is similar to the zones, but in this case, it's not, you're not designing, it's mostly you're seeing what it's already there. And sectors can be, for example, sun. Maybe you live in an apartment when you get a lot of sun in the afternoon and it gets really hot during the summertime. So how can we design to have something that blocks that sun or that uses that sun in the summertime? Sector could also be wind. So maybe you have a window that it's open and there's a lot of wind coming through. So that's the wind sector. You might want to close it or use that wind in some way. Another one for people, again, living in cities could be the view sector. You don't see it. Oh, well, actually, you could see it. I have a window on that side. And right now it's closed because I don't want people to interrupt, like to come peek while I'm, because there's a garden there. So volunteers are working and stuff. And in my case, I would get distracted. So I block the view sector with a curtain while I'm working. But the rest of the day, I could open it up so I get the sun sector. When you have a farm, the view sector can be the place where all your guests come and you want it to look nice. Maybe you have flowers, you have statues, you have signs with instructions. When you understand your sectors in your project, in your house, you can design them. For example, here we have actually a view sector. You can see just this part. Let me see. You can see around there. That's what you see from me. Right now, I could be wearing my pajamas and you don't know because it's not part of your view sector. So when you design, you can think about this. A lot of projects I've seen, the front of the project is amazing, but if you go to the back, they're full of like trash and bags and storage. And it's things that you can play with based on the needs of your project. But the important part is not so much what you put there, it's if you thought about it. Why do I have the water so close or so far? Why do I have so many complaints in my restaurant? How can I change it? What sector is being affected? Maybe I put too many tables around the bathroom area and then it smells. It's the smell sector. Again, you can apply these concepts to so many things in life. And in your case, working with environment, with people, going around, you're playing with sectors like the public transportation sector because you can use the buses. If you lived in a country where public transportation is not really timely, is not very organized, maybe it would be a bad sector. When you're working with people, again, think, how can you integrate? How can you go and get those people in society that maybe some other people are not valuing or are not seeing because they have a lot of potential, and a lot of those groups are eager to work, eager to contribute because they just have stored energy that they don't know where to use because the system and the infrastructure is not built for them. So let's build for them. Let's build infrastructure, processes, systems that cater to these people so they can also participate. And then we can learn and create better systems. I think I'm in around 10 minutes, but I'm open, flexible for some longer questions. These are some of my social media, website, etc. If you know Spanish, you can practice a lot of permaculture through my YouTube channel and also my Instagram, MV Moringa. If you know, some of the videos I do caption in English. I don't know Slovak yet, even though, well, they were saying that I'm not European at all, but actually my partner is from Czech Republic. So that makes me, I think, a little closer to Europe. And moi aussi, je parle français, alors ça, c'est une autre chose que ça pourrait me approcher à l'Europe. So that's my presentation for today. This is Santi. Let me just stop sharing here my screen. There you go. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I hope you learned things you enjoyed, and I'm now checking the chat, open to questions. It can be verbally or with text. Thank you a lot for your time, your attention.
Thank you very much. I don't see any questions in a chat. Maybe if somebody have some questions or comments or maybe something notes, please give me a sign or raise a hand or okay, Mario.
Hey, me. No, I want to thank Santi, first of all, for the intro and presentation he made. My question is more general. It's how, because you talk also about, of course, difficulties because it's Costa Rica on certain aspects. So my question really to understand, your background and the community in which you are developing projects, how it is let's say the relationship within the community, which kind of feedbacks you are receiving for the activities you are developing, let's say in permaculture, but in the meaning you shared before with us, the taking care of the people, of the community, of the earth, and all the elements connected with the permaculture, more directly or indirectly, which has been until now, which is your perception, how the community is let's say interacting or appreciating or making you trouble into the development of such kind of activities. It's just for a better me to understand the whole picture. Thank you.
Yeah, so when we started, well, I'm just gonna rephrase the question to make sure I understood, and it's how am I receiving, what feedback am I receiving, and how has been the progress of in the development of the community around permaculture, around the Urban Garden Network. And when I started, I used to think kind of unconsciously that I wanted to be part of the private property concept, meaning that I would like to buy land and own land. Through these years and working with people, I see it's like a funny thing because a lot of people don't have land and they would like to have, and then there's other people that have abundance of land and they would like to have people come and work with them and like help and use this land because maybe they don't have the time or the physical capabilities or the money to develop it. So I got to a point in my personal case where with the Urban Garden Network, I started developing the community in a way that we all feel like our home is anyone's project. So in the case of Mishka, that she was here, we went to Biki. And Biki is one of our friends from the Urban Garden Network, and she shares so much. She doesn't have big land, but she started restoring empty lot that was full of garbage. She took 3 full big trucks, like construction big trucks of garbage, all on her own from that empty lot to plant a community garden. And now some of the neighbors participate there, and some people from the Urban Garden Network come and learn with her. So this is interesting because, again, going back to fair share, it's really making people conscious of their abundance. And before, again, at the beginning of the Urban Garden Network, I think people would come more from a perspective of, I'm going to learn, like I'm going to a class, or this is a technical group where I'm going to get technical skills. But we actually consciously designed it for people to change the mindset and know that we can work together, that even though there's private property, there's many places that welcome you, and that you don't necessarily need to go to school or university or to have money or be any kind of race, skin color, education, whatever, to eat healthy and have a healthy community that supports you. And so people came to the network thinking they were gonna just learn how to prune a tree, how to plant cilantro, but they end up learning how to live differently. And I've seen this again and again with members of the community supporting each other, sharing seeds, visiting and helping start a garden, even helping in times where someone is sick and they would go and visit this person, bring food and take care of them for some days, which I think is amazingly beautiful. Starting from a group that was supposed to be just urban gardens.
Yeah, thank you very much, Santi.
Okay.
Martina, now that I mentioned Mishka, and I'm going to put you in the spotlight here. Mishka was here maybe like 2 years ago, I think. and she experienced some of this. So, Mishka, if you would like to share a couple of things that you found interesting based on the permaculture concept that we just talked about, that you would like to share about.
Yeah. So I think super interesting that people that would need help, maybe they are super close to you, because we went to help a person, and the guy that was living just a few meters away, and he was starting his kind of restoring the place, which was also full of garbage, and he started to plant their trees and make a path for people to come and see the nice things, and also the fruit trees and so on. And yeah, so that was super nice that the guy was living super close, and anybody could have helped him to achieve what he was imagining, and that in everybody's home or everybody's house or near the house, probably there is some person that would need this kind of help or any kind of help. So it's not just about so the change is everywhere. That was super nice.
Yeah, I think in this case it's interesting because, at least in my case, being vegetarian and being an activist, I remember like 10 years ago, I would like fight, like really debate against people, because I'm like, how come you don't want to be vegetarian? Or how come you don't protect nature? Or you take 30 minutes to shower? And I was fighting so many people. And I wasn't seeing that there was a ton of other people that were ready to be vegetarians, that were taking 5-minute showers, they were recycling, and were ready to start a garden. So now I just try to focus my energy on the people that are already doing it, that they just need a little push, a little support, some company, and then they can thrive, instead of like like this tension with someone that might not be in the mindset, that they're not ready for that, they don't like it. Or the other thing that happens is, at least here in Costa Rica, we see Netherlands, for example, and people are like, wow, that's so cool that they have all the bicycle, and we would like to have that in Costa Rica. Sometimes I just say people like, so start it. Like if it's something you get so triggered or inspires you so much from another country, so why don't you start here? Like, you don't need to have the whole infrastructure, you don't need the whole budget, but if you have so much passion for that thing that you see elsewhere, why don't you start? Just get a bunch of people that are also passionate about that and start making the change. I don't like to just wait for the government to do everything. That doesn't mean that the individual should be doing everything. I think it's a balance, with the government doing like more systematic things and the individual participating in pushing those changes.
Sorry, Santi. As far as changes and pushing is concerned, do you have maybe any specific program or plan under an educational point of view regarding kids, or how to transfer these elements that we all agreed, I guess, because if we are here concerning sustainable development and concerning proper use of the resources and so on and so on, usually one of the key elements we try to use is all the time to prepare some school program, some specific activity, let's say targeting to the youngest students of primary school or high school, trying to combine it with the formal system of education in order exactly to, since young age, try to in a certain way open new possibility to the young people. Do you have any specific program going in this direction?
All right. So one thing before just answering the question is, actually at the beginning, Martina asked to not have the cameras, but now that the presentation it's over, I think if some people want to activate their cameras and again participate, I would love to hear some perspectives. It doesn't need to be a question; it can even be a comment from some of the people that I see there that are connected, that are hopefully listening to us. And going back now, Mario, to your question. How are we incorporating these principles into education, into the system, let's say? And so I don't think we have a specific plan that is like super well laid out, because I'm not the best at that. But now with the help of AI, I'm getting better. What we do have now, we're working with universities. And so we participate in some courses like I'm doing now, but let's say throughout the year with the University of Costa Rica, which is the most popular and bigger public university here in Costa Rica, with some private universities that invite us, or they come to our projects to see what we're doing. So there we're kind of going towards the university kind of group of people. But in my case, again, because I'm spontaneous, I like to storytell, to play. I also work sometimes with kindergartens, and I also bring people from the Urban Garden Network to help me in schools. So before COVID, we actually had like 2 or 3 kindergartens that we were working with that had school gardens, which was really nice. They still have them, but now it's the teachers, because we don't want to create dependence. So we try to teach as much as possible to the people working there, so we can move. And so we can move to the next project, and they're already empowered to continue that project. So in this case, we have, that like the age range from like 2 years old to 7 years old. We sometimes do things with schools, meaning like 7 to 18. And then universities more often, 18 to, I don't know, 30, 35. And then we work with municipalities that organize workshops. And in these cases, the age group can be from 20 years old to even 80 years old. But it's really important for us that when we teach a workshop, we think that we might get a youngster that might be really distracted all the time on their phone. And at the same time, we might get someone that is in an older age and might have mobility problems. So how can I design a workshop that it's gonna cater to the distracted youngster and to the person that might need like crutches, or that needs to stay seated all the time? And I think this integration, it's like reinforcing that I'm not just teaching a technique, but I'm teaching a lifestyle of inclusion.
Thank you. It was my questions too, because I'm interested about how to transfer information to young people or to kids. It's very important. So if it's some questions now, because I don't see, and we have 1 hour webinar now. So maybe I want to remind that the webinar and the presentation are recorded, and they will be on YouTube channel of our Italian leader project. So maybe we can send by email link for today's participants to this YouTube channel. Yeah, do you have or we can do now, if you have a link to this YouTube channel now. We can...
no, maybe it's better that we finalize the editing, because for sure,
okay.
for the recording we will put some let's say credits.
Okay.
And then upload on YouTube, and then when we will give directly the link to the
okay.
To the and I suppose it will be done soon.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Martina, let me use this chance also to give a big thank you to you to host and coordinate this Zoom, and also to Mishka to bridge with Santi. Of course, big thank you to Santi because very energetic. I hope we will have some chance somehow to meet in vivo and to cooperate with something more long than a webinar. So,
yeah, I would be happy to go back there. I enjoyed when I was with Mishka in Slovakia. It's really different from Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, I love it. I mostly love the fruits, but I do like a lot of things from Europe, and exploring this new side that I've never been to, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Australia, was really nice. So looking forward to being back.
Okay, thank you very much, Santi. Thank you very much for participation, for because it's not it's quite late now. I don't know how which time it's in Costa Rica now. It's night, or
No, right now, no. Right now it's noon. It's lunchtime.
Okay.
So it's,
Okay.
well, around noon, 11 and
Okay.
6.
Okay. So thank you very much. I hope we will see very soon, personally or online. And so thank you very much. Bye.
Hey, thank you,
All right,
everybody.
thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.